Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and It Chapter 2 gives us the epic rematch between the Losers Club and Pennywise. And as a semi-faithful adaptation of Stephen King's source novel, when it doesn't turn your stomach, it kind of makes you think, wait, what? Among the jump scares and the shocking gore of this film's finale, it poses some fairly bonkers concepts. Ancient rituals, mystic lights that were actually very toned down from what went down in the book. So I'm gonna explain the insane story behind this ritual and how it changed the movie's ending from the original book ending. And spoiler warning, because I'm going to be discussing this movie's full plot and ending and details from the ending of the book that were not in the movie. Okay, so It Chapter 2 finds the Losers Club as adults, most of them having moved out of Derry, none of them really remembering the battle with Pennywise as kids. Only Mike Hanlon remembers. He's now the Derry librarian, obsessively tracking Pennywise's inevitable return and plotting a defense strategy. Mike summons the others back to Derry after Pennywise resurfaces. Pennywise kills Adrian Mellon, and meeting with Bill, Mike shows him this artifact. It's kind of like a tribal lantern with cryptic markings. Mike drugs Bill's drink with an hallucinogenic toxin, and he drops the kind of term that you definitely gotta be careful saying to someone who's tripping. The Ritual of Chud. So what is this Ritual of Chud? So in the novel It, the Ritual of Chud is one of the more specific elements from Stephen King's imagination. In the book, Ben, as a kid, brings it up as a possible way to defeat it. The ritual itself is this ancient Himalayan practice in which a shaman confronts a shapeshifter by, according to young Ben, walking up to it, sticking out his tongue, and the creature sticks out its tongue. They both bite down on each other's tongues. They tell each other jokes or riddles, and the first to laugh gets banished to another world for all of eternity. But it ends up not going down this way because it's so silly, but it actually gets sillier. The structure of the novel toggles between two timelines, the losers battle with it as kids, and then their rematch with it as adults. And both timelines climax with a showdown with its true form, a giant spider in the cavern. In the kid timeline, Bill gets transfixed by its deadlights. In the movie, these kind of hypnotize the observer, allowing young Bev to see their future selves and know Stanley's future suicide. But in the novel, the deadlights drive you insane if you look at them. And in Bill's case, they transport him to another dimension called the Macroverse. I know. The Macroverse is a vast empty space with two occupants, the evil entity that they call It, and then an opposing giant benevolent turtle named in other Stephen King works Maturin. There have actually been a number of turtle Easter eggs across these two It movies, a Lego turtle in Georgie's bedroom, and a turtle statue in the classroom that adult Ben visits in Chapter 2. So in the kid timeline of the books, the Ritual of Chud becomes a battle of wits between It and Bill. It threatens to trap Bill's soul in the deadlights for eternity and torture him, but Bill hears this godly voice beyond the turtle, encouraging him to rise above his fear. Bill says that he believes in Santa Claus and in superstitions and the love of his parents, and he repeats his speech impediment tongue twister. He thrusts his fists against the posts and still insists he sees the ghosts. Nailed it. And all this successfully repels It in the meantime. But in the adult timeline, both Bill and Richie are locked in this cosmic ritual because as an adult, Bill no longer has the youthful optimism he once did. Richie tries to use his humor. Eddie steps forward and sprays his inhaler using the power of belief to turn it into poison, which does hurt It, but it ends up killing Eddie. The sacrifice rallies the other losers to continue chasing down the weakened spider, beating it to submission until eventually Ben ends up stomping on its egg sac babies. Now, in the It Chapter 2 film, the Ritual of Chud plays out differently. Early on, Mike and Bill engage in this hallucinogenic vision quest that Mike learned from a Native American tribe that he met with. It's actually similar to the smoke hole vision quest that the losers participate in the book. So in the movie, we see through drug-induced visions how It arrived at Earth, apparently landing via prehistoric meteorite at the site of Derry. The entity at that time is depicted as a shape-shifting shadow, manifesting as this like demonic bird. Now the tribe encoded this whole history with It on this lantern object that Mike ended up getting. Mike tells Bill and the others that they have to recreate this ritual by recovering meaningful objects that remind them of their past with Pennywise and burn them in this lantern in the exact spot where he arrived. So this sends the adult losers back down memory lane where each encounter It in various terrifying forms. Bill tracks down his bike, Silver, from a pawn shop run by Stephen King, making a little cameo, but he ends up using Georgie's paper boat. Bev finds the love note postcard in her old home. Ben finds the yearbook page that Bev signed when they were kids. Eddie finds his old inhaler. Richie uses an arcade token from a time playing with a boy that he had a crush on. For Stanley, they use the hairnet from their underground clubhouse to protect against spiders, foreshadowing its final form, which in the movie is a giant spider, but with Pennywise's head and torso. Change I kind of liked since Bill Skarsgård's face has been so iconic in this reboot series. So they end up burning their artifacts in this cavern deep beneath the Neibolt house at the crash site of its prehistoric arrival, but this ritual fails. reveals. Pennywise's red balloon inflates from the lantern and reveals it in spider form. And they realize that Mike had scratched out one of the sides of the lantern, which depicted ancient Native American ancestors who tried to confront the entity but got slaughtered anyway. Now Mike tries to reassure them that it's just because they didn't believe, but the losers did believe as kids and they can do it again. But everyone's panicking and a scramble devolves into each of the losers individually confronting their fears. Bev returns to the bathroom stall and it now fills with blood. Ben gets buried alive in his collapsing clubhouse. Bill returns to his flooded basement and he has to drown Georgie. Richie and Eddie return to the 3 doors of the Neibolt house. And eventually they're able to wear down Pennywise. They diss him, they chant, "You are the clown," until he shrinks down into this adorable melted doll and dies. So the themes of conquering one's buried fear remain the same in the movie, but the Ritual of Chud is more direct. It's a literal battle that stays in the cavern and I guess in the loser's own perspectives rather than some Doctor Strangey dark dimension. Now the epilogue of the movie also makes some alterations from the novel. In the book, the town of Derry is mostly destroyed in a flood, which the movie avoided, I guess, for budgetary reasons. Bev and Ben end up together. Richie mourns Eddie with another film alteration revealing a longtime affection between them. Richie tearfully carves their initials together on a wooden post. Bill returns to his life as a novelist and they read Stanley's suicide letter. And the movie paints Stanley's suicide as less of a selfish, fearful act than, I suppose, a strategic resignation, with him saying that the survivors of the losers would all need to be united to beat Pennywise. And I guess if he went on living, he could never return to Derry, and that would make it an incomplete 6 out of 7. I don't know how I feel about that, but his posthumous words did end the movie with a similar heartfelt tone as, spoiler warning for Stranger Things Season 3, the posthumous message from Hopper's letter. Now, I'll have another video that breaks down the hidden Easter eggs of It Chapter 2, but do you think the movie should have kept the ritual as a cosmic macroverse battle? Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at EA Voss, and subscribe to New Rockstars for more breakdowns of stuff you love, and for more slightly annoying pronunciations of silly words like chud, 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 chud.